p.m. Can I get a roll call?
Mrs. Theodore. Here. Mrs. McPhillips.
Here.
Mrs. Urbach Barnfield. Mrs. Deck.
Here.
Mrs. Lala.
Here.
Mr. Berardi.
Here.
Mr. Trabuzio.
Here. We have a quorum. We'll stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Maria, would you read the mission statements?
Of the North School District 80 regarding educational excellence and enrichment.
Celebrate success.
I'll start out tonight. Earlier this evening at 5 p.m., we had our last of the year PFA event for our Preschool for All children. Really lovely time with a storyteller, Chris Fasciato, who came right here and was entertaining the 20, 25 kids that were here and all of their parents. And he did a really great job, really emphasizing literature and reading and going to the library. And showing them some really wonderful books while he was doing some fun jokes. Even some of them had some parent funness to them. So it was a lot of fun. Really great time for our kids. It was a nice kind of, they still have their preschool celebration at the end of the year, but this was a nice activity for them at this point.
At Giles School, we had last Thursday, the fifth graders came for a fourth grade fly-up. It was a well-attended event, and looking forward to the class of 2028.
We're continuing to hold our preschool transitions to kindergarten, so it's a very exciting time for us to kind of see what the future holds for our soon-to-be kindergartners and what their successes will be. Also did want to take some time just to also recognize Liliana Velasquez. We just recently celebrated Administrative Professionals Day. Liliana does a lot of work behind the scenes, so I appreciate her very much.
And on that same note with just the sense of appreciation, we just had Teacher Appreciation Week. It's important that we recognize the dedication of the staff that we have here, not only at Lee, but also at Giles. We have very dedicated teachers and staff members. So we've also celebrated our paraprofessionals, our school nurses, and actually this week, at least the staff at Lee is doing a little bit of celebration of the administrative staff. So just we're in that moment of that sense of appreciation, which is always a nice feel.
I will just add one more. Yesterday, the 7th grade students at Giles went to Springfield for the day. We had a wonderful day there. Everyone was great, had a great day. And this trip we're happy to bring back. I think it's been about 5 years since we've been able to go on this trip, so it was really wonderful. Thanks to all of our chaperones who came with us too and did the 3 hours on the bus there and back with us. And then the way back, it was raining so hard. I know I was happy when we got back getting out of that rain. It was raining really hard. But it was a great day. We learned a lot about Lincoln, toured his home, went to the museum. The museum is actually very nice. If you haven't been there, it is worth going down there for the day, for a day trip, because it is really nice.
I'm very glad it happened, and seeing that come to fruition was important to the board as the things we wanted, we all brought up last year was reinstating field trips when possible. So, really glad to see it.
Next week, Monday through Wednesday, we are off to Washington, D.C. with 8th grade.
Yeah.
Good. Looking forward to it.
You guys leave Monday morning and come back Wednesday?
Wednesday night.
It's gonna be jam-packed.
It is. Like, we literally don't get to our hotel until after 9 at night, each of the nights. And Monday in particular, I think we're, 3:30 we meet at Giles?
3:45 in the morning.
3:45. So, it will be a long day. Before we get to the hotel at 9:15 at night. And then we're up at 7 the next morning.
Yeah.
I mean, we're growing.
I'm more concerned about Thursday, the 23rd.
The field trip?
The day we come back, I actually have to be at my office at 6:30 in the morning. Oh, and it's Great America, but I am not going to Great America.
It is Great America's Advanced Students Day, so if they're an 8th grade and band student, they're gonna have a great week. They're gonna be exhausted as well. But we have 49 students going with us, 3 Bob and I are attending, and 3 parents. It'll be fun.
Okay, action item, consider motion to approve the agenda as modified, that being the removal of 18A and 19A9. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Molly? Fanny? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes, motion passes. Recognition of visitors, we have no visitors tonight. Any correspondence? Public participation, I was here to participate. On to presentation, Lee and Giles School building schedules for 24-25 school year.
So I'm going to begin this presentation and turn this over to Dr. Rabbiola and then to Mr. Biecki. So just want to start off, we have been working all year. As you know, we went through a compliance visit from the state of Illinois on our ELL department this year. So we're really excited about our new plans that we put together. One thing that we are going to follow moving forward is the state. The state likes to change names a lot. And right now, the change has been we're not calling it ELL anymore, which was English language learners. We are now calling it multilingual. So ML is our new phrase for that. So just to give you a little bit about our ML department, which this applies to both schools. We are now going to be working with some full-time bilingual support. So the bilingual support at Giles will be Polish and Ukrainian. So what this means, what's different about this, is the teachers have to be bilingual certified in those languages. And they provide language support in the classroom. If a student is considered full-time for that language support, which is called full-time TBE, then they receive support in ELA, math, science, and social studies, language support. So that bilingual Polish, for example, teacher will push into those classes to provide them with that support. If they are part-time TBE, then they would receive only that ELA block of support. So at Giles, Polish-Ukrainian, and at Lee, it's Polish-Ukrainian and Spanish. We're kind of keeping an eye on the Spanish right now because the access rate results, which is what drives the services, the test that drives the services for multilinguals, we're supposed to have the results this week. They have not populated yet on either the WIDA website or on the SIS report from the state. So how that's determined is if you have 20 or more students with the same language in a building. They do count preschool as a separate building. So we have 3 buildings. We have preschool, we have Giles, and we have Lee. So when a building has 20 or more students in the same language, could be from 5th grade all the way to 8th grade, not necessarily the same grade, then we have to provide that language support. We also need to provide ESL support. ESL support would be for the students that speak languages other than Polish, Ukrainian at Giles and Lee, and then also Spanish. We are planning for Spanish right now at Lee. If for some reason our access test comes back and we don't have 20 or more students, we wouldn't have to provide Spanish in our bilingual program, our bilingual teachers. So we're just keeping an eye on that. We also are really nodding towards our teachers, our classroom teachers who are ESL certified. So this is English as a second language. We have many teachers that are ESL certified. So they will be providing some of the support of the languages other than Polish, Ukrainian, and then Spanish. That does not need to be in the student's native language. That can be in English. So it's gonna look very different for both schools. Christine and, Miss Aarons and Mrs. Carnell have been working on this schedule, and getting it together so that we're providing our support for our students, our multilingual students. We do still have an overwhelmingly high Polish population, however, Ukrainian is right behind that right now. Looking back in the last few years, we've kind of been watching Ukrainian grow. It wasn't as large as it is now, but Spanish has been growing a little bit, and Arabic was actually growing a little bit too, but that's kind of gone down a little bit for us. We have 312 students in our multilingual program. So 312 students who get some type of support for language in either from an ESL teacher or a bilingual teacher. You'll see on the agenda tonight, we are hiring a few of those bilingual teachers for Polish and Ukrainian tonight. So I will start off on that because that's actually affecting both schools, and then I will turn it over to Dr. Rabbiola.
Thank you. So let's start with just taking a look at the hours for next school year, which are for full day or similar to, or exactly the same as what they are this year. We did make an adjustment to the preschool hours. So the morning session will be 8:45 to 11:15, and then the afternoon is from noon to 2:30. Just one note there is that that schedule is consistent, even though we do have the early release on Wednesday. They will still have the same schedule. They actually, for preschool, will just get out 5 minutes later than the rest of the building. We needed to keep that consistency because preschool for all does require a 2.5-hour day. And then another adjustment that you'll see here is our half-day kindergarten hours. You'll see that it's listed as morning only, and that would be from 8:10 until 11:40. And we'll go into a little bit more on the why behind that on the next slide, which talks about our district strategic plan. If you recall, one of the goals that was part of that plan was focused around our half-day kindergarten students and making sure that they had equitable minutes in our core areas of instruction for ELA and math. So what we're looking at for the upcoming school year is to extend the time that our half-dayers are actually at school. So a current half-day student is here for 60 minutes of ELA, so reading and writing, 30 minutes per day for math, 30 minutes for SEL, and there's some additional centers and writing time for about 25 minutes per day and a 15-minute recess, for a total of 165 minutes per day. Looking for next school year, we're going to extend that where all of our half-day kindergarten students would be evenly dispersed between the 4 kindergarten classes. Some students may stay the whole day, others will dismiss right at lunchtime. So that does give us the option to increase the amount of minutes that they're able to be here with us, which is one of the main things that we were trying to do. It's really hard to add more time to the day because we're bound by so many different time constraints. But for next school year, you'll have 115 minutes per day for reading and writing. We'll have 60 minutes for math, 30 minutes of SEL, and then 15 minutes of recess. Which does, on the next slide, you'll see a few areas for instructional minutes that are highlighted. And that actually means that our reading, writing, and math minutes will be equitable between our kindergarten half-day students and our kindergarten full-day students. There are some other areas where the minutes, aren't exact because we are bound by some of those time constraints. Kindergarten has a lunch recess, and then they have an additional recess time. So obviously, if they're here for half the day, they can only participate in one of those. And then our SEL minutes are a little bit lighter for a half day because they're not here in the afternoon time. And we do miss out on some of the studies and new specials, but when we look at reading, writing, math, we were able to make those units equitable between our half-day students and full day. And then also on this chart, you'll see the minutes per day breakdown for every grade level for every subject. You have a question?
Yes. So preschool, this year started at what time?
So this year, the hours, we did adjust early in the year, so they are starting at similar to the, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was gonna interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, you can interrupt.
Is it at 8:15? We went 5 minutes later than everyone else?
Yeah, so, but originally, they started a little bit later, and then it was shifted closer to the start time of the rest of the building, because there was a larger gap originally in the very beginning of the year. So now there's just like a 5-minute transition where they can come after.
So am I understanding this correctly? Preschool starts at 8:45 now for next year. That's what we're proposing, correct?
That's
Eight-
correct.
And it's 8:15 currently. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, so number one question is why that half hour later start? And the reason why I say this is because I will not experience this, but if a family has someone who's in second grade and in preschool, that half hour gap, I mean, that's a pretty big gap. You know, it's summertime, you can hang out for a half hour if you're not working, I get that, but it's a huge gap. That's my biggest concern. I know it was brought up to my attention this year, even with the 20-minute gap, and now you're pushing out another half hour. That's my biggest concern, is that I think it's a little bit challenging and unfair that they have a half hour if they do have a child that is in preschool and or kindergarten or any other grade.
I could,
I'm just my.
Let me explain why we did it. So we did it purposely because traffic is very difficult here in the morning. And preschool parents want to park and they want to walk their child in, which I would too. I would absolutely want to. So we put it purposely about 45 minutes from the first drop off at least. So if you do have a second grader, you can literally drop off 45 minutes earlier. You can go through the drop off line, drop off, and then go home for 45 minutes. And then when the preschool parents come back in, we have space for them to park. We have space for them to walk their child up. Right now, traffic is just crazy. And you have to remember too, we're bringing in 100 preschoolers. You know, when we used to have only 40 preschoolers, it was a much different, we could kind of work through that throughout the day. But now we have so many preschoolers that there's nowhere for them to park. So what ends up happening is, especially the preschool parents, and again, I understand why they're doing it, but they end up parking in spaces that are very challenging and that someone's going to get hurt because they're coming out, they're parking or double parking or triple parking in some cases because they want to walk their child in, which I would not drop off a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old in the drop-off line either. So we just don't have the space for them to come out of their cars. So that's why we purposely made it longer. We were 8:30. Which I can understand that feeling like, 10 minutes, but you literally can drop off, please start today 8:10. You literally can drop off at 8 o'clock. In fact, they open the door at 7:55. So drop off and then go home and come back with your preschooler. So that we can give you that space to park, give you that respect of walking your child in and kind of respecting our preschool parents. We did have a lot open, which we closed that maybe 2 months ago, the parking lot as a drop-off for preschool. The problem was we would have other people that would pull in that parking lot that weren't preschool, that would drop off their kids. They weren't walking in the drop-off line. There were people walking. It was very dangerous. So we just needed to pull them separately. There will be 50 preschool children walking in at that time that need to park somewhere.
And how many are right now?
Currently, right now, I think our numbers are 92.
Well, I'm saying this year, 92, so.
Currently,
roughly-
preschoolers right now, 92.
So kind of similar, right, from this year.
Can I ask another question? How does that impact the neighborhood? Because right now, if we come at like by 8:30 or so, I just lost the
Sure,
word.
that
The-
15 minutes.
The horses are.
Yeah, no, I think we'll be fine with it, because I don't think we're gonna have to shut down the street in the same way. We'll be able to keep that open and just get our preschoolers in, because they are, every parent is watching the preschooler around. So we'll be able to give them that respect of pulling over, parking on the side, parking down that street. They're coming in off the north gate, so we'll be able to get them in. So yes, that's why we changed it. We changed it this year. We were 8:30. We had some feedback that maybe that was too close to the start of the day and there was like a 10-minute gap. But it is important to point out, Lee does start at 8:10. And even though it feels like it's 8:20, because many kids are late every day to school, they don't get here until 8:20. But it does start at 8:10. You can literally drop off at 8 o'clock. So this is a big gap. And the park district will not be, one of the reasons also we want to stay away from 8:45 is the park district had a drop-off line that started around 8:45 to 9 o'clock. They will no longer be having their preschool here in our building. They're actually moving that over to the park district. They will only be running daycare here. Daycare doesn't have that time that everyone comes in. It's a smush in the day whenever you drop off your child. So Dr. Aviola has spoken with the daycare and they are fully in support of us moving to 8:45. We just really think this will be best for like 50 families that are coming in at a separate time.
So I have a question. So did we notify the village for the crossing guard situation?
Yes, I did let Deputy Chief Schwarber know.
You're gonna get a lot of complaints.
Yeah.
I really do. Because if I was a parent, I would, come on.
I only got one complaint last year. I'm not saying I won't get a lot of complaints.
Right, well, I don't know, I think a half hour is a big game. Once again, I don't know how many families have kids that are in preschool and in, kindergarten to 4th grade, but if there's a decent amount, it's gonna be, I don't know.
We're just trying to alleviate some traffic in the morning and to give the preschool parents some space to
Start
drop
at
off.
9 o'clock, before 8:30. I mean, I understand the reasoning behind it. That's a pretty big gap.
So then is the intent, because I've seen those horses now that block off the parking lot, will those be picked up so that the preschool families can come in the parking lot?
Correct.
Okay.
And then we will train them on that.
So,
No one wants to drop off their 3-year-old to run up by themselves. They
Oh,
all,
I agree.
They all walk out. So it's okay then if they're parking and pulling over in the parking lot and everyone's walking out. That's
Right.
okay to do that. Just like the end of the day, we close out that lot, the end of the day, people park in there and then they let them all go at the same time once all the traffic is gone.
so let me ask you a question. 8:15 is everyone else will start. You say the doors open at 7:55.
8:10 is one of them.
8:10, okay, and 7:55.
Yep.
Does that mean a preschooler can drop, what time will the doors be open for preschool? 15 minutes earlier? or-
10 minutes early, so 8:35 will be that. We have 10 minutes of supervision in the morning. Both schools. This also has them out earlier too, so that they can get to pick up their child at the end of the day and leave.
And then, or.
The other 600 children get out of the building. So we're like at 643 right now.
No.
How is the PM, this on Wednesdays, is it at the same time as everybody else? Right?
Yeah, I mean, pick up is different. Preschool currently, right now, is the same time as everyone else. 5 minutes earlier for me. It's basically the same time. And they will continue that way next year with what Dr. Regiola has proposed here at 2:30. It will be 5 minutes after.
How has closing the parking lot, because I actually do it anymore.
It's actually much better, and the village is very happy about it as well, because then the crossing guard is not trying to move those people out of the parking lot at the same time as trying to move the people in front of him and across the people that are coming across Portland. So it's working much
Are
better.
people using it? Or
No. Well, the parking lot is closing, if someone gets here very early, which sometimes people do get here very early, they can pull in the parking lot and wait there. And then the parking lot's all released at the end, once everything is calmed down. So if they do want to do that, they can. But we close it at 7:45. So if someone gets here at 7:40, they can get in the parking lot.
One thing I've noticed is that they're not going in the parking lot, but as they line up, there are people jumping out of cars even when they're waiting.
Yes.
And Lawrence is backed up a little bit, I've seen,
Agreed.
with that. But people are still, instead of going in the parking lot, and I get we're controlling 2 lanes of traffic, but they're just stopping in the middle of the street there because people are jumping out. So, I mean, it's still dangerous a bit, I don't know, but there's
And
still.
one of the things we talked about if we were going forward with the SRO officer for next year would be that SRO officer would spend a lot of time out in the front of Lee, training people, working with people. That SRO officer would be able to ticket people as well. Not that we want to do that, but sometimes that is no way to get
Are we
people
still
to
seeing the North Police coming back or no?
So when the last I spoke with Chief Goss, he did not have staff in order to give us for that. And they do currently right now, one of their candidates in as a name kind of dropped out. So we kind of saw some hope there that we would have the SRO officer, because not that we wouldn't have, the SRO officer wouldn't be one of the new candidates, but would take the place of whomever would come to us. So he's waiting for January at this point. I guess people don't want to be police officers. Chief Goss shared with me, there's still hundreds of applicants, and now it's just not the same.
Okay, if you can, I'm curious to see how many, if you can run the numbers,
Sure.
of how many families are gonna have someone who's in preschool as well as upperclassmen, if you can give me those numbers, I'd like to see it.
So upper class here,
Here, yeah, I mean,
I did get more feedback from parents complaining that I moved the hours to the same hours, they liked the separate hours, than I did the other way.
well, once again, if you're, I mean, it all depends on what your work, family schedule is, I mean, this is.
Absolutely, I agree with you. It could be different for every family, right?
And I'm not saying we are gonna make everybody happy, right, but I'm just curious, because in the summertime, if it was me, and the weather was nice, I would say, come on, we're going together, we're gonna sit there, I'm gonna park, and I'm gonna wait in front until my preschool needs to go in, so, not saying everyone's gonna do that, right, so, then I would be pissed, or if it's winter time, I'm gonna pile my kids back, my preschool back in the car, go home, and then turn around and come back. I think but I understand where you're coming from, but, I mean, you're.
Just trying to keep the students safe at drop-off.
No, I get it.
It's it has nothing to do with the staff or anything, it's just, we've grown so much I think when we started Lee and the split, we were a little bit under 600, and we're 643, and we have 100 kindergarten preschoolers, which is wonderful, amazing that we can have so many preschoolers, but we do then have additional parts. But I will run those more.
Okay.
Absolutely, I will share that with the board. Before I'm not sure if you're finished.
Yeah, that's good.
No, not you, I'm sorry, that's
I think I had one more slide, but I think I can sum that up pretty quickly. You'll notice waiting time, which stands for what I need, just, I know know we've talked about that previously, but that's a time when students would receive one of the three items up there, whether it's intervention, small group lessons, with a general education teacher and or a interventionist focusing on some skills that are more like prerequisite skills for the skill that are standard they're learning. Some reinforcement, which might just be a focused, larger classroom size lesson, utilizing the standards that they're focusing on in their ELA or math class, depending on which wing time we're looking at, and also utilizing iReady. And similarly, enrichment, which would be in a larger group, extending upon learning. And I think that was my last slide.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank you for working with the kindergarten on the change in the program. I think this is very exciting to have our half-day students receiving the same amount of reading and writing as mathematics. As you remember, those of you on the board at the time when we met for the strategic planning, one of the goals was in order for the kindergarten students who were half-day to have the same amount of reading and math. So I want to thank you and the kindergarten team for working on that. I know that this is a change. Change is hard, so I appreciate that. And I'm excited for them to have that same opportunity. You know, we're a few years away, as you all recall, 2027, 28 is our first year going full day. So I think it's we'll be able to offer our kindergartners some more time.
If someone can reach out to Norge, because I think they do a poor job talking about their before and after care program.
Sure.
I think if they can put something together, I think that would help as well.
Absolutely. They also are starting this year, which I have sent out to our preschool families, but we'll make sure we continue. They are starting a before and after for our preschool program too.
Right.
Which actually for families I think could be really exciting, because I think previously, with the cost of our tuition and the cost of their before or after or both was quite costly. But now if they're part of our PFA program and they're getting free tuition through our grant, it does really make that full day more reachable for our families. So I know they've sent that out and they have received some feedback, and they've enrolled some kids, so we'll make sure we get that out. So I appreciate that. They do have a great after-school program here that they run in our school. Before care isn't in our school, it's still in their part of the school, but also good program. So thank you for mentioning that.
It also used to be, there was not an aftercare option for preschool, correct?
Correct.
So
This is new.
you did the full day with the Park District, or you did half day here, you couldn't.
Correct. Because what had happened is they proposed it, but it ended up being quite costly. So we didn't have any parents that were interested in it. But now they're kind of bringing that back and are very excited about that, especially if they want to come in the morning, they can still come in the morning and drop off and then have the afternoon or vice versa. And I believe they still nap and, do those kind of things. Big lunch up there, things that we don't do. So that is what they're hoping to really focus on, that and the aftercare program here in this building, along with daycare. Which they start, I believe, the 2-year-old daycare upstairs from us. Any other questions about me? Good, Mr. Bianchi?
At Giles, our school day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday is 8:20 to 3:15. On early release Wednesday, it is 8:20 to 2:35 p.m. On the next page, I have our class schedule. So lunch, recess, and what I need is 30 minutes per day. We do have that flexible lunch option, which means that each day a student can choose. They can be inside for the full 30 minutes, or they can choose to sit and eat for 15 minutes and then choose to go outside for 15 minutes. And then we just ask that they stick with their choice, and that the next day, if they didn't like what they did that day, they can choose another option the next day. So we do have that lunch for our 5th through 8th graders. Our full period classes are 56 minutes long. Our half period classes are 28 minutes. As you will see, for our STEAM and writing is for grades 7 and 8. That is a 56-minute class, but it's a semester class. So for example, 8th grade will start with writing the first half of the year, while 7th grade will start with STEAM, and then around January after Martin Luther King holiday, we make that switch for the second semester, and then they switch and take the other course. So that is our course selection. For Giles Wynn, for our Tier 1 students, we have novel studies, vocabulary and spelling, priority standards, grammar, and novel studies. I am currently working with my grade level teams to make some changes to it, good changes for next school year. So we're currently working on that and excited about that. Our Tier 2 ELA and Math. For our ELA, we have guided reading, which is our ELA teachers per grade level, working with our students that are at the 11th percentile to the 25th percentile. And then for math, we have guided math that our math teachers are working with our students that are in that area as well. And those students are progress monitored bi-monthly, so twice every 2 weeks. Our Tier 3 for ELA and Math, we have we use iReady Reading and iReady Math. We'll also be using LLI, Leveled Literacy Intervention, and for Math, IXL. And those are students that are at the 1st percentile to the 10th percentile. One thing that I would like to add, or two things I'd like to add, these students are progress monitored weekly on their growth. And then also individuals that are at that Tier 3 will have a double dose. So not only will they have it during the Giles Win time, but then they'll also have it for 28 minutes during a time later in the day, such as during Spanish or art or SEL Foundations will look at pulling those students to give them that double dose of support. And that concludes my report, if anyone has any questions. Thank you.
To administrative reports, Superintendent Mrs. Uzi.
Thank you. I attended the PTA meeting in May, last Monday. First, want to formally thank Athena, who has been the president of PTA for a very many number of years. She is now stepping down from her presidency. We welcome Nicole Gray as our new PTA president. Is Nicole alone? Yes. So we're excited to welcome Mrs. Gray in that role, but we want to make sure we really thank Athena for all of the work that she's done for the many years, and I did present her with a gift from the district on your behalf. One of the things that came up that evening was the topic of field trips. So I just want to mention this to you today, and then we can think about it and maybe talk about it in next month. Some of the PTA members, you actually might not know this, let me take a step back. Last year, PTA started with room parents. So the room parents were individuals who signed up for the whole year to come in for parties. They would help with parties, they would be involved in door decorating and just a lot of things, really put a lot of time into working in the classrooms with the classroom teachers. Any kind of work that was needed, they were there to help with. And also with PTA, we have many individuals who really take a lot of time away from their jobs, from their home, and giving to our children and to our schools. And we appreciate that. So one of the things that came up was the topic of field trips and how we choose our chaperones for field trips. So PTA has asked us to kind of think about a process where perhaps we can put the parents who volunteer to be the room parents on a higher level in some way, and there's several ways we can do this if the board decides to do this, to allow them to come on to field trips, to be allowed to attend field trips before we look at other parents in that grade level to attend field trips. There are a lot of things that were discussed there. One of the other concerns was, can we take more adults? Like, why can't we take everyone that wants to go on a field trip? Why can't we And if it's a bus issue, why can't have some parents drive and some parents meet us there? So many things did come up, but I did mention to PTA that I would mention it to you. We can kind of think this through. Again, I'm not asking for any decisions today, just wanted to let you know that we'll be talking, I will bring this back up with you in June. So if you want to think about that, have any questions about that, we can continue making discussions about it. Not looking for any action in June, but just a discussion in June about our feelings towards that.
I just asked, I understand what it's all about, hierarchy of selection. And I understand the commitment of these parents.
Yeah, great.
It's a great commitment, and you can understand that there's precedence of why it should be developed. Just, we also should consider, there are some people in careers where getting a day off, a regular day off, is remarkably hard. And to get a day off, to go to a field trip, to experience a field trip with their son or daughter, when it's maybe one of 2 or 3 times I'll ever get a chance to know that they're like, well, I'm nudged out because, you know what I mean? There's gotta be some consideration in that, but I do understand for the time. Part of the selection, you know, just something to consider.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a simple answer, and I think that even the parents who are room moms do sacrifice a lot from their room dad parents, I should say, because we do have dad, so room parents. So we do want to, I think it's something we need to discuss. It isn't something that PTA can add into their bylaws, it would have to be us having the discussion on our policy, and not PTA's policy. We do right now, have a policy on field trips, and basically the policy states that we'll have field trips, we'll go on field trips, we'll bring chaperones, but there isn't if I can use the word, hierarchy of, who's chosen for a chaperone. What we do, what the principals, assistant principals do, is we look first at students with medical needs, and if a parent is needed for medical needs, we take that parent first, and then we look at any special education needs. So sometimes a student might want a particular person, like for example, yesterday we had a teacher at the spring field trip for comfort for a student with anxiety. That, we look at that next, and then we just open it up to all parents. So probably getting some type of process identified. I think processes always are comfortable for us because we go back to our process. And then we don't have any questioning that there's favoritism or anything like that. We just have a process, and this is what we do. So I think it's worth a conversation, and worth some time thinking about it, and researching what some other people like other districts do about it. Leave some time.
So, my one question would be, I don't want it to sound or appear as my question is crass. Are there that many parents that are putting their hand up and not getting selected?
Yes.
Okay,
We're very fortunate.
okay.
I see.
Never had, it's
Right. I completely see both sides. I think we should put our efforts in. How do we open it up to as many chaperones? Because obviously, having more chaperones are better. So obviously, the bus is one concern, but if someone wants to drive, pay their own way, and get a ticket, I think we should put our efforts in how we can open it up. And if 10 parents, 15, 20, we make it happen. I think it's better. You're not pulling teachers out of the classroom if you have a lot of chaperones. I just think more parents, the better. Because I'm leaning towards more of like, the room parent. And I get where you're coming from, but because what's going to happen is they're like, I'm never getting picked for these roles. I want to do the room parent, but it's a lot of work. So if everyone wants to, I don't know. It's just, I think.
How do they currently get So that, yes, that role, that what I just mentioned about medical needs, special needs, and then yes, they put them all together and they put them up. They do that in front of kids.
And then is it, let's just say now, 10 parents go, or all 10 parents put their names in the hat, and then you pick this name out of random. And the next field trip, the same 10 parents go in there and someone can get chosen twice, where they say, hey, you went to one, you're gonna be on this side, and then the new person has an opportunity, or we're just taking 10, the same 10, and if you're lucky, you can go to every single one if you pick.
Clarify me if I am wrong here, but I don't think you say, oh, these parents already went and pick another one. Is
I
that?
don't think there are many grades where there's more than one field trip in a school year, are there?
No, you're right. There's usually only one.
So there's only one
I
opportunity.
guess, no.
I will say, as someone who's been a room parent for my daughter the past 2 years, I would be delighted for somebody else to have that opportunity, because we're there, like, we're there for the Halloween party, we're there for the Valentine's Day party, so yes, it's work, but we're also like there in the classroom and have that time with our kids and get that experience. So on the flip side, like, I would be very delighted for another parent, because I think that's really special.
Well, I think you're saying is that, like, for your sake, you wouldn't put your name in there, right?
Yeah, I would be happy for a parent who doesn't normally, because we also, on those days where room parents come in, room parents get like first dibs to be there, and then we ask for volunteers if we can't cover it as room parents, so I feel like we already have an opportunity. Granted, there's work involved, but also like being a chaperone on a field trip is work too, corralling kids, so. I don't think there's a clear, easy answer, because obviously other people have other opinions, but.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Special education, Mr. Masters.
Yeah, just a couple quick things. Just actually follow up on our timely, meaningful consultation that happened just before the last board meeting. We did have one individual who attended, which is great, about the attendees. Again, this is just a requirement to fulfill IDEA obligations. That's our Individuals with Disability Education Act. So making sure that we are supporting all of the students in our community who require special education services. So including, what are our provisions for any privately placed students. We did also have 4th grade to 5th grade transitions. That is still ongoing, but we are getting towards the end of it. We have a lot of students in this current grade, but it is very exciting to see them all making great strides as they head off to middle school. And then finally, we have solidified our rosters for ESY, so we are actually planning ahead and starting to see what our students will need to kind of help them continue making progress on our individual goals over the summer. That's my report.
Building reports, Lee School, Dr. Reviola.
Thank you. So 3rd and 4th grade had their Fine Arts Night, which was a great event, showcasing their talents and creativity. We're also excited to see our 1st and 2nd graders who will have their performances next week on Thursday, the 23rd. Let's see, I'm going to skip over some things because we talked about all the appreciation. I put a few things in there about that. Just a thank you to the PTA for, really making sure that teachers felt appreciated this past week with, different things from, cookies, which were, really a hot item. They, flew off the tray, not shells, but that's okay. We had Eli's cheesecake. We had an awesome barbecue truck on Friday, so that was really appreciated. On the same note, in terms of field trips, our 1st grade recently had a nice experience at Triton College visiting the Cernan Space Center. We also had 2nd grade who attended the Chicago Dogs game last Wednesday. And we had our preschoolers on May 1st who went to the Coles Children's Museum. So just wanted to share out some of those fun adventures that have been taking place. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Childs, Mr. Yecki.
So I'm going to skip around as well because we talked about many of the things that I have on my list. But 2 things that I really want to focus on. Tomorrow, May 15th, the Village of Norwich and Giles School will celebrate our 5th grade students in completing their DEAR education course. The doors will open at 8:45 tomorrow morning. Ceremony will begin at approximately 9 a.m. If you're able to join us, please do so. But we look forward to that exciting event, and I know the students are excited for that. And then the big day is coming. It is Monday, June 3rd. It is 8th grade graduation. The doors will open at 6:15 p.m. The ceremony will begin at 7 p.m. and it will be at Ridgewood High School, and it will be indoors. So we're excited for that, to celebrate our 8th graders and their success that they've made here in Norwich School District 80. And then we're just doing all the final end of the year stuff, wrapping everything up. We have our PTA sponsored event, which is on the 30th. Our 8th graders have their end of the year field trip, end of the year dance. We have our end of the year Giles Maid Assembly, and we have a BMX assembly sponsored by PTA coming up as well. So it's a busy time for us at Giles School. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Discipline report, Lee, Mrs. Carnell.
At least we have one in-school suspension in violation of board policy 7:199. And that's it.
Thank you. Giles, Mrs. Aaron.
We have one in-school suspension in violation of board policy 7:199 and 21, and one in-school suspension in violation of board policy 7:197, 9, and 21.
Board committees. The board committees listed have not met as committees, but all issues of these committees are discussed every month, and mainly in discussion items that Mrs. Guzik will soon present. So on that note, discussion items.
Finance. We need to talk about finance.
Oh, yeah, so finance, we do have something.
So previously, we had talked about maybe amending the budget due to the additional grant funds that we were going to receive and spend. But after we looked closer at the budget, we realized that we didn't have to. If we are ever going to amend the budget, it would always be at this time of the year. Because the reason why we amend the budget is because we have unexpected expenses that are unmanageable compared to our original budget. There was a time that we thought that's what was going to happen. But as we got closer, we also realized that we had unexpected savings that offset our unexpected expenses, so we were still within a manageable range. The percent is 10%, so you specifically have to surpass 10% of your original budget in any one fund. You don't look at the whole budget, you look at each individual fund. So the main one we thought would be the ed fund, but when we looked closer at it, our current ed fund budget, so the next one, is a little over 12 million. So 10% of that would be around 1.2 million that we would have to go over. As of today's board meeting, we're at 9.8 million. So I know that seems very far from the 12 million, but towards the end of the year, there's more expenses that come up. We have 3 regular payrolls left, which are our bigger part. We also have a summer school payroll, and then we might have an additional summer, like the summer work days that we do. So those are 4 additional payrolls, and then we have the AP bill for June, and that's always a big one because that's all the last things that need to be paid for this year. Our revenue to date, as of today, is 11.4 million in that fund. The reason why that is so much more than our expenses at this point in time is because we've received 99% of the tax dollars we're going to receive this year. And that's our biggest revenue source. So we will not really continue to get revenue in. Most of our fees have been paid, all of the kindergarten tuition have been paid. We'll get a couple EDF payments. Any grant expenditure reports we do for this final quarter, we won't receive the money until next year. So So we will receive some more revenue, but not much more than that 11.4, but we will continue to spend. We won't go over budget and we won't need to amend the budget, but we're gonna catch up to the amount of revenue we've had come in. The way we save ourselves from having to amend the budget is there's line item transfers. So specific areas in the budget, we are going to go over. Not completely over the ed fund in total, but we will go over certain line items. Like our PFA accounts will all be well over budget because we did not budget for the amount of money we were going to receive in PFA. But other line items we will not use, like the contingency. We have 50,000 budgeted in contingencies. We do not spend that. That line item covers the overage in the PFA accounts. Another line item where we're going to be under budget this year is medical insurance. Because at the beginning of the year, when we are budgeting, we budget for any open position to take insurance because we don't know what people are going to take. We this year had less new people take health insurance or changes during the year where people stopped taking insurance. So that health insurance line actually is a savings for us this year. So that overage will be used to cover maybe a supply item that went over because we're buying additional supplies for the additional title grants, which normally we wouldn't be buying additional title supplies at this time. We have them in the title grants for buying these supplies. So we'll use the overage from the health insurance line to cover what we need in the title supplies. Does anybody have questions on that?
No, I think you explained it well. Welcome news too. Thank you.
Okay, discussion. So the May and June on our Believe topic that we've been working on all of year. This year was our Believe in Norwich School District 80. Our May-June topic is reflective. We feel that May is a good time to reflect, always a good time to reflect, but especially in May. Time to think about our experiences, what we've learned from them, how we can grow, and then to build our plans for the next year, make our goals, and to help us make better decisions towards our future. So we are really utilizing reflecting in the month of May. So an update on our district business, 24-25 registration has been moving along. We have many students who still need to register for our returning students, 1st through 8th grade. We are asking families to register that online in PowerSchool. We're hoping they can get that registered by June 7th. Obviously, that is we're not going to register anyone after that date, but we would like everyone to get that information in so that we can make sure all the residency are checked thoroughly and carefully. So please, if you haven't done your registration, let's get that in. Preschool and kindergarten registration is a little different. That is done in person. Currently, right now, we have 43 students who are registered for preschool and 40 kindergartners for full day and 9 kindergartners for half day. This week, Thursday, is our next registration day. So I encourage families to come in, make an appointment, and after that, even if they need to make an appointment at a different day, we're here in the evening for registration. So we can check residency and then get registration paperwork completed. We do have our last of the year PFA testing on Friday, May 17th. It's a very full day for us. So I would imagine we probably will be filling up our PFA program after Friday with all our students. They haven't all registered. And again, I will really encourage families to register. PFA was like a first come, first serve to space. So let's get in the program and make sure you're holding your spot, because we will fill about 100 students. Just an update on curriculum fees, that they will for 24-25 be out into Pushcoin by July 15th. They'll probably actually hit there around the 1st or 2nd of July, but we just give ourselves that cushion. because there are a couple of things that have to happen on our side once the fees do hit Pushcoin. For example, we do get a listing from the state of families who receive state aid that we have to run waivers on. So a couple of things. So really, July 15th is probably the best date. We could remind you, we have discounts if your fee is paid by August 1st. You can pay that fee now, it's at the Lee District, at the Lee office, either by check or by cash. And then families can go into Pushcoin after that July 15th date and pay as well. We'll certainly be communicating with families at that time once all those fees hit. There is a nice discount. If your fee is $250, for example, it's $237. So it actually does add up for families. It worked well last year, so we're happy to bring that back.
Where we at with past due outstanding fees collected?
So we do still have some past due fees, a small handful of 8th graders that we're trying to collect before you can't hold anyone off of 8th grade graduation, but we can, as Mr. Bianchi pointed out, some other 8th grade events. So a small group of them. Kindergarten, as you know, is completely paid. Preschool, we don't have any fees. And then we have still a small group, about 60 families that owe fees. We have moved many of the families to that first round of collections. If you remember, that is the round of collections where it's not that true collection piece yet. It's the round where we still are able to collect 100% of what the company is able to collect for us. After that, if their efforts don't work, then they ask us if we want to move someone to that full collections piece. At that point, we don't get the full amount.
Question in regards to that, I know we can hold fees free for field trips. Can we do the same with underclassmen?
We can. We don't have a policy on that right now, but we can. Not all trips, though, do have it at the end of the year. But as they mentioned today, many of them do, but not all of them do. And we have been sending, Pushcoin sends home automatic bills at least twice a month. We communicate with families over and over and over again, and certainly do still have a view of the process of families use. We do not waive, only families we waive automatically are if they receive state aid. Not Medicaid, but state aid.
Just for number of purposes, does that big guess there would like 60 times 250 roughly? About 15 grand?
I would say we're between 15 and 20 grand. I think a little bit under 20. I can get you the exact number, I can send it out to the board. But I believe it's a little bit under 20. Which, if you recall, and we talked about this in December, we were at 65,000, so certainly made a lot of them. Tammy makes a lot of them.
So for 8th grade, is it just the field trip or the field trip and the dance that they came up? Both.
So just a few families left. And the families that are left have said, okay, by this date I'm paying. In fact, today is a big date, they're paying by the 14th. So we'll follow up and see if that happens.
The majority are just not responding pretty much.
Honestly, most of the time they tell Tammy, yep, I'm gonna pay that, and then when Tammy calls again, oh, yeah, I'm gonna pay that.
Can she take a payment over the phone at that
She
point?
can.
Okay.
She can't force someone to do it, but she can pay it. If it's a credit card, payment over the phone. Sure. She can do an e-check also. Credit card has e-check is not. Very often families here, I don't know what it is, they like to pay cash. We are happy to take cash in the living office, anytime.
Okay, so if you pay upfront, was it 10% discount? What did we say?
Yeah, it's 250 to 237, correct? It's 5%.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, 5. We really did have a lot of families pay that last year. A lot. So we'll increase our communication to families once those hit. I mean, technically, if you went to Pushcoin and paid it, it's just gonna sit there. So they could do it now if they want to, but it would be better if it matches up with the actual fee. Actually, it would be much better if it matched up with the actual fee, because then the fees are going into the wrong year. So let me take that back. Pay it after July 1st. I can hear Kimmy yelling at me. Paid after July 1st. So it's in the correct fiscal year. As Mr. Masters mentioned, we have, he mentioned the ESY plan, 17 students who are enrolled in ESY. The big difference between ESY and summer school is we are mandated to offer extended school year to students with special needs if they qualify. There are different qualification standards that are needed if students qualify. Certainly not all students with an IEP qualify. There is no fee for ESY, and the hours are 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. On the summer school side, I was very happy with our number of students. We have 100 students enrolled in summer school. The fee this year, as you recall, we are still getting money from ESSER, from the ARP grant. However, families also are paying $40 for the 14 days of instruction, which really is not much. And the fees also are from 8 a.m. to 12. Today on consent agenda, on the personnel area is approving the staff. When we hire the staff for ESY and summer school, according to the CBA, we have to go by seniority. There were only 2 people that did not receive a job who applied for an ESY or summer school spot. And there were 2 new teachers that are first year this year. However, in the last day, we've had 2 teachers that have some situations that they can no longer teach. So we probably will be reaching out to both of them. Today you have in your board packet policy update 114. I believe I gave you a paper copy of that last month. Not a lot of really big policy change here. They are changing Title IX words to sexual harassment. So you'll see that a lot in the policy. What I gave you was, and you can give me some feedback on how you'd like this. This is the first time I gave it to you this way. I gave you the policies with red line cross-outs of what the language changes were. You'll see, I think it's better. And I think
Thank you for
it's easier to read. Yeah, and it's clear. And so not a lot of big changes. 116, now it's actually out. Title IX changes are out, starting August 1st. So a lot of training that the admin staff will all need to go through. Also training that the teachers will need to go through. CREA has advised us that we're okay with following that 116 policy. So we don't have to go in and try to write our own policy language. When 116 comes out, which should be July-ish, we will be able to then adopt all the rest of the policies. I'll talk with you much more about it when we get here, once we get there. This is more just some title changes, language change there. There are a lot of changes with Title IX. And the definition of sexual harassment and the rights in sexual harassment. One of them, just to highlight that for you, for example, was an individual who would have a sexual harassment claim used to have to come forward and sign a complaint. And they call that like, be the body. You know, you had to have a body that was making a complaint. And then the person who had the complaint against them had the right to know who that was. That is no longer there. So that does open up maybe the possibility of more, I don't know. It just opens up the option of people coming forward in more than an anonymous way now. So there's a lot of training, as I mentioned, for our admin team and our staff, which we will do with them right when they come back in August. Also in your packet was a change to policy 830. This change to 830, we actually had talked about a few months ago, and thank you for bringing that back up to my attention, Mr. Trevizio. This policy is just following their current practice with people coming into the building. So providing their ID, holding the ID. We had changed that practice many, many years ago, and we just never updated the policy. So both of those are on first read tonight. We went over finances, so I don't have anything else for that topic today. Buildings and grounds, today on your agenda is the approval of the bid for the alarm locks project. We're very happy with where this came in today. Last week when we opened the bids, came in at about $184,000. which we were happy with. That is just purchasing the locks and fobs and everything to go with it. It's not the installation of it. The installation of it we'll do later, that we're not expecting to hit the $35,000 threshold. So that would need to be a bidded project. This is a grant funded project. Part of it is supposed to be coming out of that Giles infrastructure grant, but I do also have it covered in the Stronger Connections grant, which is a new grant that the state just came out with. If you recall, we applied for it in April. We should be hearing about that soon, but I'm expecting good results on that. That Stronger Connections grant really was for safety, and they were recommending, West 40, who met with us about it, was really recommending one-time use on that, so you don't pay your staff that you can't then afford, then the next year. The district admin area is just about complete. In fact, tonight we're gonna have closed session in there, in the conference room. So excited about that. 4 out of 5 of the chillers are complete. We have 1 more chiller left in this building, which will be going up in June. It is so we just need to schedule that time for the crane to come out and put it up. I think I shared a video with the board on that. It was kind of exciting watching it. It was kind of fun, and we did push that out into the classrooms so the teachers can watch that. We did have kids outside, but they can watch it in the classrooms. Dr. Mabiola is finalizing furniture for 1st and 2nd grade, which will be purchased for delivery in August in the next fiscal year. Hallway painting, there's a couple different projects going on with hallway painting in both buildings. They're going to be working on removing the softball field and seeding that here at Lee. Currently, right now, the preschool playground in August is the plan, which you approved last month. We have the East Hallway project at Lee. If you recall, this is the East Hallway, which is the 1st grade hallway. This is the hallway that we previously had a lot of flooding. We don't currently flood there anymore once we put in the epoxy along the side of the building. However, the damage to those tiles has been done. So fixing that hallway, we're actually going to be epoxying that hallway. That is under the $35,000 threshold, so we don't have to go to bid on that. However, we are doing an OmniSource company. And one thing I didn't mention on here is they're currently taking down that old playground that was up by Giles. So we're really looking for a nice, warm, inviting space there, an outdoor classroom, put in some nice picnic tables. Hopefully, Mr. Bianchi's gonna work on some kind of shade with either NSF or maybe PT. We'll figure that out.
I would like to ask, the hallway painting and the preschool playground, PTA's helping with that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
Some of our staff will be doing it, but then also we're looking at, one of the things that Dr. Rabiola mentioned to me today was he might shift the painting project from PTA onto some built-in shelves instead of walls, but certainly help with painting. It's a great project, and PTA is completely helping with the playground. There's 2 phases. I'm excited about that. August will be the first one, and the second one will be right around the corner in September. So we have a lot of good things happening. Very excited. And just to share with you a couple of community events, on May 26th, I believe that our 2 members, Mr. Tribuzio and I think Mrs. Phillips, you are attending the Village Memorial Day program. If anyone else is going, please let Eileen know, and she'll make sure she submits your name, so that I believe they call out the names of the people. August 6th is our National Night Out. If you've not attended that in the past, I really highly encourage that. What a great night. It's one of those nights that you leave it and you just feel really great about our community and great about all of the different services that we offer in New Orange. So it's a lot of fun, and that is the first Tuesday of August every month. And just to highlight our 2 festivals, the Island and the City Festival, which is held at the Park District on July 11th through 14th, and then in Howard Heights on their land there is the Howard Heights Fest, August 1st through 4th. So those pretty much roll right into National Night Out from there. Always a nice night. And my follow-ups, in June, we should see a lot of contracts coming to the board, contracts for busing, contracts for auditors, all of those contracts will hit us next month. Maybe our unemployment insurance, and I'm not sure if that'll hit there, but should be June, maybe July. Those kind of contracts, we'll have a lot of that going on next month. We'll be purchasing Chromebooks, the new furniture, because that'll all hit after July 1, so that'll be in our next month. We are opening bids for our lunch bid on June 17th. June 18th is our board meeting, so I will bring that to you for approval on the 18th. And Mrs. Peters will be sending out all that information. It's in the paper on Thursday. She will also be sending out the bid to, I don't know, it's probably 30 or 40 different companies that you're sending that out to. So we're excited to see what comes back on that. And then our preliminary date, or our date for the preliminary part of the audit is July 12th. That'll just be the first time they'll come out. They'll come out 2 other times after that. A little earlier this year. Typically they don't come until the end of July. Just a lot of things to get ready for them. And that's my report.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Consent agenda, can I get a motion
Motion.
for 14A through 14F?
Oh, I'm sorry, can I go back? I apologize. You may notice March 19th amended regular minute meetings are there. We failed to mention, Mr. Piecki did a celebration on the band in the celebration that they went through, and we failed to have that on the minutes. So we want to go back and correct that for the record. So that's the only difference there on the March. You had approved them last month, we amended them.
So if I take over right now?
Just explaining why.
Oh, I see.
Thank you.
Okay, can I get a motion for consent agenda 14A through 14F?
Motion.
Second.
Amanda, Laura, roll call please.
Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mrs. Erbach Barnfield?
Yes.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes, the motion passes. 15A, consider acceptance of bid for access control hardware for Giles and Lee schools. Can I get a motion? Maria? Molly, roll call please.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mrs. Erbach Barnfield?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes, the motion passes. Board comments, any comments? Consider a motion to adjourn to closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, and review of closed session minutes. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Laura?
Second.
Fanny, roll call please.
Mrs. Erbach Barnfield?
Yes.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes. Motion passes. We will start closed session in 10 minutes, 9 p.m., 9:40. Okay, on to personnel action items. I need a motion to approve 19A1 through 8, not 9, but also 10 through 12. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
What?
You didn't do anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be revised on that. I need a motion to approve 19A1 through D1, excluding 19A9.
Motion.
Lauren,
Second.
Amanda, roll call please.
Mrs. Erbach Barnfield?
Yes.
Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes, the motion passes. Board meeting reflection.
You know I always want to for my first name.
Wait, this isn't that. Oh, I need a motion to adjourn this meeting at 9:42. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The meeting is now